Welcome to episode 50 of Motivating Mondays, a weekly podcast and YouTube series dedicated to help Canadian job developers and other employer engagement professionals develop the tools, resources, expertise, and network to excel in achieving sustainable employment outcomes for their clients or students. My name is Christian St. Cyr, National Director of the Canadian Job Development Network, and today we're going to talk about how many employers are giving up on networking because it seems more transactional. They're doubting the intentions of job seekers and feel online tools are dehumanizing the process. Now, this is obviously a two-way street since employers are increasingly relying on AI to attract candidates, evaluate them, and select who to hire. How can we bring back the humanity to networking? Whenever I've coached job seekers to do informational interviews with an employer, I've always stressed the importance of authenticity and sincere interest. I've been asked for informational interviews many times, and sometimes the person who's asked me to do it simply breezes through the questions as quickly as possible to complete the task and move on. Now, I've never quite understood this, but I suppose many people do this because they want to respect the person's time and complete the process as quickly as possible. But what we fail to appreciate is not only the valuable insights that can be gleaned from this sort of process, but also the opportunity to build a relationship with a potential employer or mentor or community contact. These days, it seems as though both employers and job seekers have a low opinion of how networking is evolving. According to a recent survey by Harris Poll, 70% of Canadian hiring managers and 76% of job seekers say networking today feels more like a business transaction than a genuine personal connection. Employers believe job seekers are simply using this process as an opportunity to find work rather than actually get to know local employers. The survey noted 69% of job seekers and 64% of hiring managers say networking is primarily about identifying job opportunities rather than building relationships, revealing a widening gap between what professionals want networking to be and what it has turned into. And, while social media sites like LinkedIn are intended to make networking more accessible, instead they've introduced a new layer of artificiality. When asked to evaluate online platforms, 76% of job seekers and 78% of hiring managers say online networking platforms have made interactions transactional. Even though 38% of hiring managers think these platforms make authentic connections easier, most admit interactions still feel impersonal and opportunistic. 78% of job seekers say it's difficult to form authentic relationships in environments where the goals feel transactional from the start. For more than a year now, I've been saying that employers are exclusively looking for candidates who are ready to go on day one. This is supported by the data, where 70% of hiring managers now evaluate networking contacts based strictly on their influence or usefulness. If we think the spirit is willing, but the technology is weak, we can be reminded that the large majority of hiring managers, 86%, and job seekers, 82%, agree networking is critical to getting a foot in the door. Unfortunately, there's mounting frustration on how this is done. So, how do we create opportunities with employers who are reluctant to engage in them in the first place? How do we make networking relational and not transactional? Well, let me introduce you to the Ben Franklin effect. Essentially, it's about winning people over by asking them to do something for you. The Ben Franklin effect is a psychological phenomenon in which a person likes someone more after doing them a favor. The effect can be explained by the cognitive dissonance. Individuals rationalize their helpful actions by assuming they must like this person, since their behavior would otherwise conflict with their typical behavior or self-perception. In this way, the effect shows how people adjust their attitudes to maintain consistency in their self-concept. That's pretty complicated. Ben Franklin references this approach in his autobiography. He used this approach to address animosity that he had with a rival legislator when he served in the Pennsylvania Assembly. Franklin proposed to ask to borrow a rare book from this individual, even though he didn't really need it. And then when he returned it, he wrote a note of great thanks. This changed the individual's regard for Franklin and cemented their future friendship. So what sort of favor could a job seeker ask of an employer? Well, for instance, do you have 10 minutes for a very short informational interview? Who can't spare 10 minutes? I've agreed to 10-minute informational interviews, and some have lasted for 30 minutes or even an hour. I wouldn't say push it to that case in all cases, but it's an opportunity to build a connection with someone. Employers are going to be naturally reserved, if not suspicious, of job seekers. By cold calling employers and seeking informational interviews, job seekers can build their network, find genuine opportunities to connect with employers, and break down the barrier of being seen. And while this is a great opportunity to build connections, informational interviews, as well as all other aspects of job search, must be genuine with positive motivations. If an employer perceives that this is just a pretense to be considered for a job, it will actually hurt the person's chances to secure a job. And I would encourage job seekers to be curious. The greatest interviewers in the world are curious about their guests. They have a genuine interest in their story, what has taken them to this point, and where they will be going from here on out. Years ago, I met with a successful business person, and when I asked what was his greatest lesson in business, he said, "I never meet with anyone without a clear understanding of what I want to get out of this meeting." I believe that no one should meet with an employer without a clear sense of what they hope to learn from this employer, their organization, and what distinguishes them from their competition. And while this is great advice for job seekers, this is just as valuable for job developers and other employer engagement professionals. Nurture your sense of curiosity. If your questions are sincere and result in follow-up questions, they will go far to building a relationship with this employer. I just want to remind you that tomorrow is the last day to register for Canada Strong, 16 Ways Trade is Changing Our Labor Market. These are the 2026 labor market conferences. We have them happening across the country in BC and Ontario, as well as Alberta, on the prairies in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, as well as in Atlantic Canada, in all three maritime provinces, as well as Newfoundland and Labrador. We're excited to be able to do this on a national basis and bring some of the best national speakers and couple them with some really great local speakers. If you want more information, just go to jobdevelopment.org and click on the appropriate conference. If you want to actually take advantage of the 50% discount, just remember to get your conference registration in before tomorrow evening. I just want to thank you so much for joining us. Please click the like or subscribe button in your platform. Search for Motivating Mondays wherever you download podcasts. We'd also like it if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel and or rate or review this podcast. Now, we do these sessions live and for free every Monday morning on Microsoft Teams. We have job developers joining us from all across Canada, and it'd be so great if you could join us. Just go to jobdevelopment.org to learn more. And if you have any questions, send me an email. My email address is cstcyr@labormarketsolutions.ca. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have an amazing week.